Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the official Week 1 of Major League Baseball Power Rankings, where we take a completely objective, analytical approach to ranking all Major League Baseball teams from 1 to 30. Now, last week we did a little bit of an introduction to how the point system works, and I'll go over that again today. But it also served nice to be able to show you how it worked, but also to establish a baseline for going through the season. There's a lot of games, and there's a long season to go, but it's nice to at least establish a starting point, because I didn't feel it was fair to start with based upon last season or projections for this season, because projections are subjective. You don't know how people are going to do, and you can't go based on last year, because so many players changed so many teams that the makeup of most of them were so different. It's, again, not fair. It's very subjective. Therefore, we did a Week 1, or more pre-Week 1, last week on 31st, based upon only a few games. Having been only a few games, I knew going into that the numbers, the rankings were going to be skewed. For example, you had Oakland and Seattle playing 2 more games than everybody else. And you had everyone else playing 1 or 2 games, some playing 3 or 4. There was such a variance there that I knew that going into the official Week 1 this week, having had a full week of games for all the teams, that the difference in where teams were going to rank were going to vary widely. And we had most teams jumped significantly up or down one way or the other. I've got several. We have at least 30 of the teams here have gone up or down 10 ranks between last week. That's to be expected because now you had a whole week of play and you weren't doing it based upon only a couple of games. I'm expecting that as the weeks go on, the swings will be far more even-keeled. You're going to have smaller swings and fewer of them, depending on how teams perform on the field. Having said that, let's go ahead and get started. Now, last time you also saw that we had 3 different ties because there just wasn't enough information on a couple of days to actually differentiate where they actually stood. This week, while we have some points that are very similar, the run differentials allow us to establish a definitive rank for all 28 teams, with 2 ties being down here, and I do have official tiebreakers, and I'll go over how that works. So, to reiterate from last week, how the analytical point structure here works is, in a regular 9-inning win is 3 points, a 9-inning loss is 2 points. So, if a team goes into extra innings, therefore, the team that could not close them out loses a point based upon the fact they couldn't close them out 9 innings. And the team that was able to force extra innings gets a point out of that because they were able to push that team into extra innings. Therefore, that 3 points a winning team would get for a 9-inning win is now shared between 2 teams. Where the winning team in extra innings gets the 2 because they still won the game and they still get the win on the standings. But now the loser in the extra innings still walks away with 1 point. And in the case of, for example, when Philadelphia lost to Washington in extra innings, they still got the 1 point for that. So that's why if you take these points here, a lot of these may not be divisible by 3 evenly because you had some extra inning games. You also had some rainouts. So not every team has played an equal number of games, but over the course of the weeks, that's going to even out because all the rainouts will be double headers in the future, so they'll get an opportunity for extra points or a split or however it turns out. But given the fact that every team is going to go through injuries, every team is going to go through slumps, every team is going to go through hot streaks to some degree, maybe not the 30th team throughout the season might not have as many as like maybe the top teams during the league, but every team has the same variables they have to contend with throughout the season. Therefore, to completely create an even playing field, we took this analytical approach. There's no bias, there's no subjectivity, and there's no having to worry about having played a hot team at the wrong time or a cold team at the right time. All that is neutralized over a 162-game season by taking a numerical approach. So, having said that, an with any power ranking, somebody has to be 30, the worst team in the league. And after watching the last week of games, last week, I believe that was the Chicago White Sox. I have to check my records. But this time, we have a team that has dropped 16 ranks from last week. They dropped 30 because I've seen them. Some of the games are close, and some of the games are not. But they're not winning a lot of games. They've gotten 4 points out of a whole week. That's an overtime loss and 1 win. They're just not playing well. They're off to a slow start. The Cincinnati Reds. So we'll see how they rebound. But they didn't exactly play the upper echelon teams. I mean, Pittsburgh is not exactly a upper echelon elite team, but they haven't been getting it done the first week. So they get to start off this season at rank 30, and we'll see if they can rebound as the season goes on, as they get into the swing of things. Coming in at number 29 are the Boston Red Sox, which is a great surprise to all pundits out there, analytical and fans alike, because you're talking about the World Series winners last year, and their rotation has just been anything but stellar. And their bullpen was never particularly great. So they are down 5 points, five ranks from last week, and they get to start off the official week 1 at 29. They are way, way too good of a team to stay down that far. They are going to get into a rhythm. They are going to come back up. Now, being a Yankees fan, do I like that? No. However, from an objective standpoint, that's the reality matter. You got Chris Sale and Porcello and everybody else on that team. They are way too good to stay down there. They are going to climb back up. But for week 1, because their starting rotation, their bullpen, they're hitting everything, and nothing is working for them this week. So they start off at 29. Coming in at 28, and another massive swing, down 16, are the Chicago Cubs. Now, with John Lester and Schwarber and the others on the team, and with the coach of Joe Madden, they are a better team when they're playing. Will they get in the swing of things? We'll see. The Chicago Cubs have not been the same team since they won the World Series against Cleveland Indians. Now, they have largely the same nucleus that they had. They did lose some core players, but they still got a creative genius in Joe Madden, and a back office that knows how to, Theo Epstein, that knows how to pull the right switches. So I'm not expecting to stay down this far, but for week 1, they start at 28. Coming in at 27 and down, the largest swing of the whole thing are the Kansas City Royals at 27. They are down 20. They were up in the first row last week. This week, they are down 27, just because their run differential of -9 and only getting 7 points on the season is just a really bad start. I mean, they are playing divisional games, and those are the games that if you are a good team, you need to win. Whether it's Kansas, whether you're playing against Minnesota or Cleveland or whomever, when you're playing divisional games, you need to win those games, and they just didn't. They've got 7 points. So, coming in at 26, down 11 from last week, are the St. Louis Cardinals. Now, they have some good pieces. They also have some pieces that need to get developed. But like the Kansas City Chiefs, they've only won 7 points, and unlike the Chiefs, they've got a slightly better, but not a stellar run differential, having given up 3 more runs than they've scored. So they get to come in at number 26, down 11. Now, coming at 25, down 18, are the Colorado Rockies. They have at least a starting point. They are down 18 from last week, largely because when you play a couple of games and you do well, and then you have a bad week, you go from upper row all the way down to the third row. Wild swings. There are going to be a lot of them in this ranking. Having said that, I think they're more competitive than what they are showing. We'll see how that turns out. Coming in at 24, a team that no one expects to do well this year are the Miami Marlins. They are down 3 last week, being one of the smallest moves of the week. They've started off this week. Last week they lost 2 games to Colorado. Then this week they got most of their 9 points by the fact that they ended up splitting the game against the Colorado Rockies. So they get to move up. No, they're still down 3 points because after they beat the Colorado Rockies to complete the 4-game set, they then got swept by the Mets. I mean, they have a team full of rookies without a lot of veteran experience. Sure, they have Doug Manley as the manager and they have Derek Jeter in the back office, but the players in the field are wet behind the ears. They need experience, and it's going to be a long season for Miami. Am I hoping they do better than they are? Sure, I'm not expecting it. Coming in at number 23 are the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Now, despite the fact that they've got Mike Trout, who's just on fire, he's only one player, and they just have not been playing well this week. Can they rebound? Sure. Do they have talent? Possibly. But do they have enough talent throughout their lineup and throughout their rotation to be competitive this year? I'm not overly optimistic, but I would love to be surprised. So they start off at 23, and they are down 4 from last week. Coming in at 22 and down 1 from last week are the San Francisco Giants. Now, the interesting about that is the Tampa Bay Rays go into San Francisco and they win the first game of the series, and everyone talks about how the Tampa Bay Rays are the new team for the AL East, and they're going to give New York and Boston and Toronto and everybody else a run for their money, and then they end up losing the next game in San Francisco. It's like, this is why I find all the subjective opinions from analysts hogwash, because the reality of the matter is the games, the performance on the field is what matters. You can say what you want about a team, but winning 1 game out of a series does not mean they're a great team. San Francisco, however, is not particularly playing that well, having only gotten 9 points in the first official week of game, and they're down 1 slot. They're -4 differential. Are they going to be competitive in the division? I don't know. Bumgarner is still a good pitcher, but he's nowhere near the elite player he was when he pitched 3 separate games in a World Series to bring home the 2nd championship in X number of years for the Giants. And with other players having either underperformed or moved on from that championship team, they're in a little bit of a rebuilding stage. So we'll see how well San Francisco does. But they were still able to humble Tampa, which everyone was claiming they were doing so great. Coming in at 21 and up 8 from last week are the Washington Nationals. So the Nationals, having lost Harper, is one player they've lost. They also don't have Gio Gonzalez anymore and some other players, but they still have a decent nucleus of players. Is it enough to compete with the powerhouse that is the National League East with the Phillies, Mets, and others? I mean, outside of Miami, I mean, they're just in a rough division, so they're going to get probably beat up a little bit here. So they start off 21. We'll see how they do in the coming weeks. Now, moving on to the middle row here, coming in at number 20, a team that I remember correctly was last year, because they weren't last, because they're only up 8 slots, but they were near the bottom. The Chicago White Sox, having scored 9 points and a one-dimensional +1. This is a team with which I think could be interesting to watch. Do I think they're going to be very competitive against Minnesota, Cleveland, and the like? Probably not. But they do have some decent talent on that team, and given the right moves aligning, they could be surprising people. Either way, they get to start off at number 20, and given the rest of their division, I only see one other team from their division in the third row here, so they're kind of, like I said, not the worst, but nowhere near the best either. Okay? Coming in at number 19, down to 16 from last week, are the Toronto Blue Jays. You know, when you start your first week, you're winning both your games, and then you go in and you're humbled by the week. You drop a bunch. Got down 16. They were up in the top 5 last week, and now they're down 19 because reality set in. This is a team that is in rebuild mode. Can they get lucky in a given day? Sure, but put them up against some of the elite players, elite teams out there when they have their act together. The Houston Astros, the Boston Red Sox, and others who are actually very well built teams. When they're finally in the swing of things, Toronto's going to fade to black. They are in rebuilding mode. They were very fortunate to be able to take advantage of having only played a couple of games and done well in those games, but now they're starting to see reality down at number 19. Coming in at number 18 and up 2 from last week are the Baltimore Orioles. They got to have good fortune opening the series in New York and winning 2 out of 3. I thought it was kind of interesting how they dropped the first game, the home opener, where New York had their pitching and their lineup and everything firing on all cylinders, and Baltimore was like, okay, you win game 1, we'll take the next 2. And then, of course, during the course of the week, they get humbled a little bit, and they're down 18. They have a very young team. They lost a ton of players last year during the fire sale, and no one is expecting to do well. So the fact that they have 12 points in the first week and they're starting at 18 here, I give them a round of applause. You are fighting, you are trying, you are making an effort. It's going to be a hard season for Baltimore fans, but anything is possible. I have seen some good things in their first week. We'll see if they're able to put it together. Their starting pitching is honestly not overly impressive. These are people with whom on any other team I might have 3rd or 4th starters. I don't really see a stellar pitcher there. And their lineup, there are people like Chris Davis who were good and now they're not. Other people like Sucre, with whom are virtual unknowns, but they're doing all right. We'll see how it turns out for Baltimore, but they're a team the first week. A surprise is that for the beginning of the year is that a team that won 101 games last year, coming in at 17, the Houston Astros, being in the same spot as last week, their rotation, their lineups, everything is just not in full swing yet. They are way, way too good of a team to be starting at 17, but that's where they are. They've won 4 games, and they've struggled to win some games. So out of 7 games, they've gotten a mediocre week. This actually the whole second row here are largely have had mediocre weeks with everywhere from 15 to 12 points here. So you're looking at your middle row teams that started off with up and downs, wins and losses, kind of a 500 ball kind of thing, in which some of them are finding themselves, others trying to iron out some kinks, others are overperforming, others are underperforming. But this kind of their baseline and shows you where they're starting off, with Houston getting to go home next week to start a home play at home against the Yankees. We'll see how well they do. I think Tanaka versus Verlander will be interesting. The rest of the series kind of leads more in Houston's favor on paper as far as rotation is concerned. But in bullpen depth, definitely favor with the Yankees. And the lineup, it's you've got Altuve versus Judge and all the way down. I mean, this will be a very interesting series coming up, and we'll see how well Houston responds and how they show up this next week. Coming in at number 16 are the Atlanta Braves, and they are coming in up 14 from last week. They had the good fortune of being able to beat up on the Miami Marlins, but again, they're only playing around average. They had a very deep talent pool. They had one of the best farm systems in the game, but here's the reality of the matter is, there was a few years ago, before Aaron Judge came up for the New York Yankees, they were labeled as the 1 or 2 best farm system in the game, and now they're not even in the top 10. You wonder why? Because their prospects came up and they're doing well at the major league level. Atlanta having one of the best farm systems in the game is all good and fine, but until that talent gets up to the majors and starts knocking them out of the park and performing up to their caliber, the Braves are going to continue to struggle. Do they have the pieces? Remains to be seen, but they definitely have some work to do with player development center side, so we'll see how that comes along. Coming in at number 15, also having a very mediocre week, are the Pittsburgh Pirates. Pittsburgh is coming in at plus 12, which means they were down here in the last week, but they get to start off their official first week at number 15, having secured 13 points and a run differential positive 8. They got to beat up on the Cincinnati Reds, so yay Pittsburgh. That's quite an achievement to beat the worst team in the league. Congratulations. Next week, when you have to play better quality talent, we'll see how that holds up. Again, their talent is okay, not impressive, but we'll see how that comes along. Coming in at number 14 is Arizona. Coming in at plus 14 over last week. They played Boston this week, and I thought it was rather interesting because players with whom I expected to do well didn't, and those who I did not expect to do well did. Either way, you've got a very nice mixture of good and bad, so it's a very mediocre first week for Arizona. Zach Greinke can only take you so far, and he's not going to win every game. But the rest of the team, having lost Goldschmidt and others, we'll see how that develops for them. I think that they're going to be facing their own challenges during the course of the season. We'll see how the playing in the desert works for them this year. But they start off a nice 14 there. Coming at 13, the Minnesota Twins. They had a fun series against the Philadelphia Phillies. The Phillies being locked and loaded and ready to kill this year, and Minnesota still managed to win a game or two. It was fun to watch. It was competitive. It was interesting, and kudos to Minnesota for being able to play with the big boys, more or less. They are pegged to actually do better than this for the year based upon analytical projections, but I'm more interested to see how the analyticals turn out for them. So they get to start off at 13. Coming in at 12 are the Cleveland Indians. Now this is a team with Francona as a manager and Brower having just barely missed a multi-pitcher no-hitter earlier this week. They look very, very promising. They had the pieces to be in the top 10, but their start off this week a little bit hit and miss. They've had amazing performances, and they've also had, seriously, this is how your team is playing after you just you play great one game and not so great the next game. It's like, okay, we'll see how that goes. But they're just playing mediocre right now. Again, it's only the first week, hasn't really gotten warm yet, so we'll see how it goes. But I am expecting them to be a bit of a threat in their division this year. Coming in at number 11, and up 2 from last week, are the New York Yankees. Now, they got the good fortune of, after having had a very rough second series against Detroit, they managed to take the first 2 games of the series against Baltimore to be able to count those towards their points for their rankings this year, and without those points against Baltimore, they would not be this high. Their games against Detroit, for a team that is rebuilding, and everyone says are not going to be very good this year, although you haven't seen them on the board yet, so obviously they're playing well so far. But they basically went into New York and slapped them around a little bit. So, as it was not fun to watch, and it wasn't fun to follow, but I also know that this team has such a strong, talented pull there. They have the league-leading volume of injuries, which is definitely killing them, which is definitely has a key factor as to why they're playing very mediocre right now. Having said that, those players will eventually come back, and we'll see how they perform. With Stanton on injury, with Severino on injury, Sabathia on injury, There's a lot they're trying to compensate for, and they're just kind of treading water, trying to keep things going until they get their players back. So we'll see what happens when those players get back. We'll see how their injury list develops over the season. But, there's a lot of potential there, but potential is as good as a battery that isn't plugged into anything. There's a lot of energy in that battery, but if it's not getting used, then you can't see its potential. Coming at number 10 are the Texas Rangers with 15 points and a run differential 7. And I need to backtrack real quick here because I forgot to explain the tiebreakers for 23 and 24, and I realized I've got all the way up to 10, and I'm just now seeing this. The tiebreaker here was originally I was going to take the average of the two teams they played last week, with LA having played Seattle, which was ranked last week at 1, and Texas, which was ranked number 23 last year, take the average, which was 23. Tampa playing the New York Mets and Atlanta here. That would have given Tampa having played a slightly stronger opponent versus the Miami Marlins, and so I figured, okay, in case there is some debate over, but that was last week, based upon a couple of games, give me something a little more substance. Well, I remember telling you last week that the run differential was, while the points were based cumulatively on the whole season, the run differentials here are only based upon the previous week. So I throw in the run differentials for the entire season just so you can see the difference here as to how that compares to the strength of the opponent you were playing last week. And with the run differential of -8 versus run differential of -10, either criteria used, you still have LA coming in at a slightly better rank than the Miami Marlins. So I apologize for not getting that the first time around. Totally slipped my mind as I'm thinking about all the different players, all the different teams, and how they're doing and everything. My mind was elsewhere. So I apologize for that. Moving right along. Back up to the Texas Rangers here. Texas is up 13 from last week, so they shoot all the way up from the third row to the top row here. Will they stay there? I am not overly optimistic. They've been playing well enough the first week to make the first rankings. Will they be able to stay there? We'll see. They haven't exactly been playing the highest caliber talent, but they're winning. They won the game, so you got to give them the credit for that. They beat up on. Moving right along, coming at number 9 are the Philadelphia Phillies. Now they started off last week very promising, coming at number 5. This week they had a little bit of trouble with Washington and Minnesota, but they still maintained a strong starting. Now this is a team with which I got a lot of praise from Philadelphia fans for having come in at number 5, and they were actually a little bit disappointed to start off higher because they're a brand new, reloaded Philadelphia Phillies, and they are doing well. They did get 15 points, 5 wins in the course of this first week. Unfortunately, they didn't win every game, much to the dismay of Phillies fans. So they hang on to stay in the top row, but they do drop to number 9. Coming in at number 8, the Detroit Tigers, who got to enjoy the benefits of beating up on the Yankees during the course of the week. To those in Boston and Philadelphia are probably thrilled to death to see that someone was able to knock around New York in New York. The Boston Red Sox know that thrill a lot from the division series, but I digress. The Detroit coming in at more points than the Phillies, 16, get to take over the 8th spot. Now, this is a team with which is overperforming. Their pieces are developing. They are getting the benefit of having had a good, strong first week, and against the likes of Cleveland, Minnesota, and others, we'll see how well they can hold on to that. But for the first week of the season, congratulations, Detroit Tigers. You're off to a good start. Always props to a team that can perform on the field beyond what anyone says off the field. Coming in at number 7 are the San Diego Padres. Now, this is a team that I'm keeping my eyes on because after they reloaded, they brought in talent. They with Eric Hosmer last year, and this year with Manny Machado and all the other talent they're bringing in here. They're really putting their money where their mouth is, and it's really showing early in the season. Will they be able to keep it up during the grind of the whole year? We don't know, but this is a team I'm definitely keeping an eye on, and having won 6 games already, they are doing very, very well. and I'll definitely keep my attention on them to see how they do during the course of the season. Having said that, have they played the best talent yet? No, but you're winning the games you're supposed to win. When you take a look at the division winners versus second and third place, and you take a look at what the deciding factor was, more often than not, it's the fact that the team in second place, when they were going against teams that they were supposed to win, they didn't win them. Whereas team in first place, whether or not they did well against other elite teams, they beat up on the team they were supposed to win. So, the San Diego is starting off well. They're winning the game they're supposed to win to compete down the road. So, kudos to the Padres. Keep up the good work. Coming in number 6, much to the dismay of Phillies fans, the New York Mets, coming in 18 points. They do have a very good team with Syndergaard, DeGrom, Granderson, Robertson, Cano, and the like. They have a very strong nucleus. They will be competitive in the division this year. I'm expecting Philadelphia and New York to duke it out this whole year. It would not surprise me to see both teams in the top row throughout the whole season. Both teams are playing very well, and I'll be very curious to see how well during the course when they hit the Subway Series, how New York and New York match up. But in the meantime, New York is rightfully up at number 6, and New York needs to find their way. They're just still down here 11. Coming in number 5, having the benefit of having started the season early in Tokyo, I figured, okay, they didn't do so well against Seattle, but they played more games, so they got to be in the top row last week. So I figured, okay, well, they're down 1 this week, so that's me doing number 4. I figured, okay, we'll see how they go, because I did not think they were a very good team. And then they go into their first full week here, albeit some off days due to the Tokyo trip. But they continue to win games. And ultimately, at the end of the day, winning games is better than not. It's what's going to win you the division, it's what's going to win you the playoffs, it's what's going to win the World Series. And the first week of the season, the Oakland A's are winning games. So they're going to stay up there. Kudos, congratulations to Oakland. You've got a long season ahead of you, but you're off to a great start. Keep up the good work. Coming in at number 4 are the Tampa Bay Rays, who are up 6 from last week. This is a team that has a very unique approach to baseball. The same way in 2001-ish when the Oakland A's developed the whole Moneyball approach of bringing in undervalued talent. Because the Tampa Bay Rays don't have 5 high-quality starters like most teams do, they're taking the opener approach they developed last year and had more success with than other teams did. Other teams try to mimic it, but no one had their success. Well, they'll have a bullpen arm come in to open the game, go through the first inning or two, get through the heart of the lineup, and then turn it over to a long reliever so that the reliever does not have to deal with the same rotation 3 times over. And it's worked well for Tampa, and whether there's something to it, maybe they built their team based upon that, and maybe they're just adapting to what they have, but they have been more successful than anybody else at that opener approach, and I've got the feeling this may catch up to them the same way when the Miami Dolphins were playing that wild card thing, and until teams adapted to them, they were winning games no one felt they should have won. They were getting away with games, and then teams caught up to it, and then they started playing more as they expected to, and not doing so well. However, Tampa Bay might be like the Oakland A's, and they might be able to ride that throughout the season. Ultimately, whether they are or not, their staff does not, their players don't give them much of an option to not do it that way. So, more power to you. Great job, Tampa. You're off to a good start, and we'll see how that opener strategy works out for you, knowing full well that nobody else is really designed to be able to mimic that all that well. Coming at number 3 is the Milwaukee Brewers, with Christian Yelich having hit home runs in the first 4 games. The Brewers themselves are on fire. They are up 8 from last week, so they're really making a mark for themselves, and they look like they're going to be a deep threat for their division. Coming at 21 points, they're going to be a team worth watching and keeping an eye on, and we'll see how many players end up in the All-Star game. but they are off to a phenomenal start. Coming at number 2, the LA Dodgers, which last week they were also number 2. They're just winning, and the differential is a plus 30 for the whole season, but during this past week it was only 10. It was still good enough to rack up the wins and the points, so they're still doing very, very well. Congratulations to the Dodgers. You have a very, very strong team. You did get to the World Series last year, and you're off to an excellent start to defend your division and to go deep in the playoffs. Well, they should be able to maintain that throughout the course of the season and not have much threat from their division, considering the fact that the only other team in their division likely to give them much of a challenge is San Diego, and while they're loaded, they're unproven loaded. So the Dodgers are doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing. They're winning games, and they're going to win a lot of games this year. So they get to stay number 2 this week. Coming in number 1, the surprise first round team. Last week I made the defense of the fact that they got to play 2 games in Tokyo and they won against the Oakland Athletics. That's why they were number 1. This week, however, they're continuing that trend. They did have the off days from the Tokyo games, but just like Oakland, they're winning games. They won a lot of games, 23 points winning games. Seattle is off to a phenomenal start, the best start of everybody here. So there'll be a team to see how well if that levels out later on, or if they're able to ride that right into the playoffs. But either way, congratulations to Seattle. You got your little fireworks up there. You get to start week 1 at number 1, and you're a surprise to everyone in Seattle. I can't even make a prediction as to how you're going to do because no one saw this coming. You are the surprise team. Not the Tampa Bay Rays, not the Milwaukee Brewers. You are the surprise team to start the year. Congratulations, Seattle. Proud of you. Great job. We'll see how you do next week. You all are very welcome and encouraged to leave your comments, your opinions, your debate in the comments below. And if you just happen to be surfing through the web and happen across this video, please take a look, and thank you. Please hit like and subscribe. We appreciate all your patrons, and I would love to hear both what you liked, what you didn't like, and what you think of the objective approach, the analytical approach with this. And until next time, have a great Sunday. Enjoy the games, and I'll see you next Sunday. And yes, I realize they're still playing the same game, the same teams they were playing Saturday, Sunday, but that's because I have to cut it off on Saturday and do my power ranking for Sunday. So, having said that, you all have a great day. Enjoy the Sunday games. See you next Sunday. Toodaloo.